We have seen a giant monster become the definition of a walking nuke. We have seen the first of many giant monster battles. And we have also seen the first monster to take it to the skies, but in color. This year, 1957, the human race is now put to the test, this time not against another monster, but by beings from outer space. Welcome to the Brumakian podcast, an episodic review series where I can review anything, but not everything. On this show, I cover anything in entertainment, whether it be giant monster movies, anime, and video games. Last year, the world was introduced to Rodan, a flying pteranodon who seriously needs to go to anger management, and is making his name known in the West this year, 1957, as we speak. Meanwhile, back in Japan, Toho was already thinking of taking it to the next level. Because of the success of the 1954 film Godzilla, other Japanese movie companies decided to jump into the ring with their own science fiction, sci-fi for short, films. For example, soon-to-be rival of Toho Dai Studios' Warning from Space, released in 1957, and Shin Toho's Fearful Attack of the Flying Saucers, written and directed by Shinichi Sekizawa, a man who will be very important later on. And just like any fad nowadays, Toho jumped on that sci-fi action. Tomoyuki Tanaka recruited an aeronautical engineer and military test pilot Jojiro Okami. In early 1957, he had written and published an unnamed science fiction novel-length story far from the final product that we see. When Tanaka was helping Okami publish the book, he liked the ideas within the story itself and handed it over to Shigeru Kayama. In the original draft of the story, believe it or not, there were no monsters present in it at all. It was Tanaka himself who opted for a monster to be in the story, sort of like a certain other monster that we will get to later. However, it was the movie's director Ishiro Honda who suggested instead of a monster but a giant burrowing robot. And despite the many drafts of the script, the anti-nuclear message remains. Ishiro Honda, when describing the film, said that it was larger in scale compared to Godzilla or Rodan, and is aimed to be more of a true science fiction film. I would like to wipe away the Cold War era notion of East versus West and convey a simple, universal aspiration for peace, the coming together of all mankind, or humankind rather, as one to create a peaceful society. If only that were true in the real world. At last, Earth Defense Force, or the Mysterians, was released on December 28, 1957, earning 193 million yen, becoming the second highest grossing film of the year. It was also released in the United States by RKO Radio Pictures on May 15, 1959. But due to the studio's failing fortunes, it was double featured with the film Wanted See by MGM Studio, and it made a profit of $58,000. The plot synopsis goes as follows. A group of aliens arrive on Earth and ask permission to settle on a tract of land. When they are discovered to be invaders responsible for the monster Mogura that is destroying cities, well, villages in this case since they're out in the countryside, the armed forces attempt to stop them with every weapon available. And when I say every weapon, I mean every weapon available. Now with that settled, let's get into my final thoughts. Ishiro Honda said himself that this is one of his favorite movies that he directed. And yeah, I can see that. This is the first time that I've ever seen this, and I have to say, yeah, it's a great film. Unity against a foreign power is something that has been done to absolute fucking death in other films, but I like it here. The characters are the standard good, just like in Rodan. However, Kenji Sahara is the highlight. Goes out of his way to be the hero. In absolute Chad he is. The Mysterians themselves, Jesus, okay, I gotta be honest. The first time I laid eyes on their outfits, they look fucking ridiculous. But it's the 1950s sci-fi ridiculous, so I'll let it slide. Mogura looks downright amazing. Too bad he doesn't get that much screen time. I can tell that the budget is way bigger than the others. They spared no expense. And it is helped by the sudden change from the 4:3 ratio to a wider screen. This is the famous Toho scope used for the very first time, and it looks fantastic. Although, I can't say the same for the after effects, especially with Mogura, dated by today's standards. Finally, do I even need to get into the fact that I love Akira Ifukube's music in this film? It is on par with Godzilla by far, especially with the marches. Overall, I really enjoyed The Mysterians. Although with some minor issues with the pacing, the film still earns the final score of 89 robotic space penguins out of 100. That will do for this episode. This has been Demetrius signing off, and I'm about to jump into a lake. A certain bear doggy is literally causing trouble.